Hello and welcome to this Jaguar XK8 airbag and veneer cover removal video. This is video 118 in our series of XK8 videos. In this video we're going to show you how to remove the airbag and swap the passenger side airbag cover. This video is part of a series of videos where we're changing our dashboard veneers from what was carbon fibre vinyl wrap back to the original burr walnut. In this video we're going to do the airbag and left hand side air vent. In the video we're going to utilize these tools, a couple of sockets, 10mm and 7mm, together with a 7mm spanner, a cross screwdriver, some Loctite, a plastic trim tool and a hammer and punch. Don't get worried, that's not normally used. Plus we also used the torque wrench. We covered the range of 5 to 10 Newton meters, which isn't shown on the photo here. We used the Jaguar Workshop manual for XK8 4 litre 1999 onwards, and in that we work step by step through the Jaguar procedure for actually removing the airbag. So this is not something we've made up. It's the Jaguar procedure, and there is some safety things you need to be aware of. Basically it's suggesting that before the airbag service is performed, at least 1 minute must elapse after disconnection of the battery positive cable to allow dissipation of the backup power unit energy. Also, in the event of a fault rupturing, basically if you're trying to do this after the airbag has been deployed, the 10 amp battery fuse F4 located in the fuse box of the driver's end fascia, that fuse must not be renewed until the airbag system has been deactivated, so don't put the fuse back in. Also, as we note, it says in there, after 10 years service, the airbag assembly must be removed, disposed of, and the new airbag reinstalled. And in theory, my cars would have had 2 new airbags, but I don't think it's ever been changed. Anyway, digress. So we're going to be working with the airbag. Bit of a warning: it is explosive in the early ones, and it's pressurized in the later ones. The action. Basically, if the battery is connected, there is a risk of deployment, and it'll also give you an error code when you plug it back in if it was disconnected whilst the battery's on. The video is going to be broken down into 5 sections. First, we're going to look at the components. Secondly, the different types of airbag cover and system. Section 3, the removal of the unit. Section 4, changing the covers over, and Section 5, refitting. If you're watching this video, you're obviously interested in Jaguar XK8s, XKRs. If so, might I suggest you click on the top right hand link to be taken directly to our YouTube channel. There you'll find lots more Jaguar XK8 content. Whilst you're there, if you press the subscribe button, you'll be linked to our channel. Press the bell icon, you'll be reminded when videos are become aired. And if you watch a particular video, you can click the thumbs up if you say you like it, thumbs down if you don't. And if you have any questions or comments, we'll reply as soon as we can. In the meantime, enjoy the current video. Okay, so first of all, section 1, the components. The airbag assembly is basically made up of 3 major components: the airbag, the frame, and the veneer cover. So looking at the veneer cover and the frame actually engages with the cover with 4 tabs. Basically, as you can see there, the black clips on the airbag cover and the white pegs on the frame. The frame is separate to the airbag itself, which is connected to the airbag cover with sort of seatbelt grade tethers, and it's bolted with 2 bolts at the back there. One's dropped out already, so it's quite easy to disconnect. There you go. So that's all 3 components. There you go. There's the bracket and the tether to the airbag cover. That's what I'm counting as all one unit. And this is the airbag itself. There you go. Section 2 now, the differences between different types of covers. The grey one is a 1996-97 model year tether, and the purple one is a later tether. That the purple one has like a gathered bit of strap. That was basically February 2002. So there's no date stamped on that one, but it is from my 1996 car. There's no airbag indicator light in the bottom right hand corner. There is on this 2002 one. You see the little grommet there, which because it's covered you can't see that. I'll show you that uncovered in a moment. So the passenger airbag here, it's model year 2001 onwards, basically with the advanced restraint system or ART system. You can see it's got the airbag indicator light. It's not, there's no light there, it's just clear, so it can be illuminated. So that's a different type of airbag cover. And here we have, you can see the stitching. The actual strap is the same length as the original strap length, but it's been gathered and stitched together. Now apparently this stitching helps to decelerate the airbag when it's being deployed. So the stitching actually will be ripped open, and it'll absorb some energy and slow the airbag cover down when it's being forced out with the force of the airbag. Bit of a summary of the key changes in airbag design. So the first cars in model year 1997, they had single phase airbags. There's basically two types of airbag in that period. I'm not quite sure what the fine differences are. Then in model year 2000, the airbags were depowered to try and reduce the injuries to passengers due to the rate of inflation of the bag. That was a different part number. And then finally there was a fourth iteration of airbag, model year 2001 onwards, which is the two-stage airbag, which actually deployed in two stages. And that was part of the ART system. So that's model year 2001 is the one with the flush fitting fog lamps, the separate headrest. All those cars have the same airbag right through to the end of production. Two-stage airbag design. Okay, so in a bit of a summary, the door design itself is identical throughout those model years, but the tethers are different, and you do need to make sure they're retained, and you keep the same sort of tether to keep the same action of your airbag door. If the tethers are different, it's quite difficult to transfer them because they're actually bonded to the airbag cover through this bracket. It's not easily detachable. There's a big sticky all the way along the back there. I'll try and show you that it's actually connected to a small bracket in there. You can see the X there. When it's deployed, the bracket pulls towards the straps there. And I assume you can tell it's been deployed then. If you see this one, actually this is an airbag that I've got that has been deployed. You can see I'll take away the polystyrene foam that covers the actual strap that's normally bonded to the aluminium backing there, and you can see the X a little bit light on this one, and you can see the little loops there. That's where those airbag tethers attach, and when it deploys it'll be pulled towards those holes where the tethers come through, and that basically is failed now. You can see it fits in this polystyrene like that. So the tethers are different. I believe in the beginning the inner airbag cover was available without the veneer, and you could bond it on. You could rip it off and unbond another one back on, but that's no longer available. So you've got to buy the whole thing already put together. A bit of advice when buying veneer sets before I get into all the details. You need to make sure obviously you've got the right model year, purely that you've got the airbag indicator light, and more importantly got the right tethers, and the tethers are present and not damaged. Very important that they're present, the right ones are present and they're not damaged. In my experience, I've had bad experience with missing tethers in this case. I bought this in good faith, but the tethers are actually completely missing. The airbag's been deployed, and the tethers were the wrong ones for my model year anyway. But I would look to try and transfer that bracket, but it's very difficult. Section 3 then, removal. This is the point you need to make sure before you start getting any spanners or anything, trim tools on the car, disconnect the battery, wait a decent amount of time. The Jaguar procedure says at least a minimum of a minute, but I would leave it the night before, or plenty of time for the battery all the systems to power down. The airbag clip locations are in the 4 positions, 2 sort of upper middle and 2 at the bottom towards the corners. Just to reiterate where they are, I'll just show you here. This is the pocket latches, the black pocket latches on the airbag cover, and these white clips there on the frame. The frame part number and the pocket latch part number is there if you ever need to have replacement ones, and they literally just clip in. It's very, very easy. There's some of the simpler clips to undo on the dashboard, and it's very easy to get your trim tool in there and pop them off, which I'll show you in a second. So using the trim tool, pop it underneath your glove box, pull it along the line, and you're just disengaging those white clips, and the airbag cover comes off, drops down, and you can leave it on the weight. Leave the weight of it on the tethers, hold it in position. There you go. Removing the side vent, you need to remove this to get everything. There are 3 locations on that, as is shown here in the sort of the 3 corners of it, of the triangle. Removing it is very easy. You don't need really any tools. You can get your finger behind that ledge, pull it out. Be very, very careful, but the plastics on these are very, very brittle. Most of them have already probably been broken. The round corner, as it would, is a little bit tricky to get at because you can't get your fingers behind. Possibly use a trim tool, as I'm going to do here now, just to leave that out. Come on, it's coming. There you go. Pops out. Try and catch that. There you go. You can see the 3 spigots. There you go. Next is actually to remove the airbag bolts, starting with the left-hand side. These are 10mm sockets needed for that. The bolts are a JSH 1061-4CPJ. There's a right-hand side one there and the other side. You need to actually get at the rear bolts of the bracket, but the airbag connector obscures that bolt. You can actually remove it by removing the clip and pushing it down. It does actually tell you to do that in the Jaguar procedure, and you can start to see the bolt. Use a 7mm socket to remove the left hand side. Round to the right hand side, do the same. The bolt part number is FS105161J if ever you need any spares. Then there's 2 bolts lower front, left hand side, again 7mm spanner or socket on that. It's a little bit tricky to get at, so spanner is useful up to the point where they're becoming loose, and the same on the right hand side. Now at this point the frame bracket should be loose enough to get out. It's a bit tricky to do one-handed because you have to hold the airbag cover out of the way. That comes loose, and then we concentrate on removing the side vent. You really need to remove this just to get it out of the way. Undo the 3 screws. You can see it already looks damaged already. I'll probably repair this before I put it back. And you can just pull it out. There you go. Bits fallen off. Call in the super glue. More super glue, please. There you go. Side vent off. At this point, you really need to remove the glove box. Hence why I've done the glove box previous to this video. That's video 117 if you want to have a look at that, because you need to remove it to get access to the lower airbag bolts that are sitting directly underneath the glove box. There's no other way of getting around it. You have to get the glove box off. You need to remove those 2 lower airbag bolts. They're 10mm again. It's the same bolt number as previous, JSH 1061-4CPJ, and then literally push the airbag upwards into the airbag location pocket, and you can actually just pull it up and out, and your airbag should be completely loose, although it's all tethered to the cover and it's still connected electrically. You then need to unplug the electrical connector, depress the little tab as always, and pull the connector out. And literally you've got the airbag removed. It should look something like this. Everything is clear. Got a good look at everything there. So if you if you want to understand what it looks like. I hadn't took the vent out by then. There you go. Whether you need to take the vent out or not is debatable. There you go. Airbags removed. At this point, you're about halfway. Please press the thumbs up if you're liking it, and carry on watching it for the putting it back together. So, section 4, changing covers. The airbag strap bracket location, it's located on the back of the airbag with this bracket, and sometimes you get the straps without the bracket. In that case, it's not a completely lost cause. You can actually swap the straps over by tapping the rod out from the back of the airbag bracket, and then just literally pulling the seatbelt tethers, the style tethers, off the bracket and putting them back on again, and you'll end up back reassembled correctly. I don't think there's a problem with doing that. It's quite well retained. Again, bit of a warning, when you're doing that, you need to make sure you've got the same model year and you're using the correct tethers, whatever you do. Otherwise, it may alter the function of the airbag, and you don't want your passenger to be hurt by that. Section 5 then, refitting. I added thread lock to all the bolts. In the Jaguar procedure, it says use new bolts, assuming that's when the airbag has been deployed. The bolts, obviously, I had some blue Loctite on them when I removed them, but I used some standard 684 Loctite when I'm putting them back. So reassembling the airbag to the cover, you literally just drop the airbag on top and then secure the 2 bolts. You need to use a 10mm socket to do this, as you can see here, and when they're fully tied, check the torque out. It's got to be between 7 and 10 Newton meters to make sure they're tied up to the right torque, because these are for a safety device, so please make sure you do that. Then refitting the side vent, glued it all back together. Well, actually, I had a slightly better one in my stock. Literally put the vent back in, put the screws back in, and then just push the side vent veneer back on. I actually advise you don't put the veneer cover on until you get the airbag in, because I found it actually interfered with the airbag going on. So a little bit out of sequence here. Bit of a top tip, don't fit that until the end. Then you need to reconnect the electrics, which basically just plug it back in. Drop the airbag in position. Drop it through those little slots in the glove box area. Whatever you do, when you put the frame back on, like I've done here, make sure the tethers go over the top of it, not underneath it. That is the incorrect way of fitting it. Then you need to start putting the bolts back in. The 10mm bolts, the left-hand side needs to be torqued up to 7 to 10 Newton meters. The right-hand side the same. Then the ones from underneath, the lower fixing bolts, again with added thread lock, tighten those up again. All those airbag bolts I've used thread lock. Then we look at the left-hand side front bolt. Now here on my particular setup, there was a washer between the frame and the bracket on the car, a little washer, so I made sure that was present. If you're taking apart, make sure you have the correct stack of washers. I don't think it'll affect the airbag deployment as much as how the trim all fits together flush. So it's just pushing the height of that airbag veneer up a bit. So put the bolt, the washer, and the nut retaining clip. If you break that, the nut retainer clip is actually JJK 105111. Again, it's a 7mm spanner needed, and you need to check the torque between 5 and 7 Newton meters. Do the same on the right-hand side, and do the back bolts, making sure you don't fit the electrical socket too early as I did, and it just fouls it a bit. Again, 5 to 7 Newton meters. Then the right hand side the same, and then you just clip the airbag cover on. It's a bit easier doing it with two-handed. You can tuck the the tethers in a bit, but there you go. I'm going to have to polish that. It's all covered in fingerprints. So airbag veneer cover on, ready for a good polish. So there you go, everything assembled, and basically I'm on to the next thing. So we've already removed the center veneer, and we're going to have a look at a couple of videos. I've got a familiar problem with the vents as done by John D, and I'm going to have a look at changing clock bulbs, and then we get on to the center console and the main dash veneers. Okay, still lots to do, lots of videos in the pipeline. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe if you'd like to see more XK8 videos.